Hi, I'm Diane McGarry with Drake Arts. With me today are co-host Tom McGarry, artist Galina Szakacs, and ASL interpreter Jasmine. Galina's story began as a child in Moldova, when it was part of the former Soviet Union. There, everything was clear, explained, and known. She settled in New England after she immigrated to the United States. As an adult in 1993, when she crossed the border of the United States, Galina experienced a profound cultural, social, and view on history shift. Her adaptation to this new culture was both trying and liberating. Music, nature, art, and creating new forms, work with wire jewelry and now with polymer clay, helped Galina to find her new center. To her amazement, art provided a new connection to unanswered questions and a new language to express her feelings and thoughts. She had never been an artist and never saw a fraction of it in herself. But Galina is blessed with friends who saw it in her and encouraged her to try different art forms. Galina loves nature. She is also fascinated with people's stories, music, and art. The creative process gives her feelings of joy, and she is gratified when helping people connect to themselves and others through stories which connect to art. At the end of the conversation with people in clay, we all feel more alive and more connected. Galina, can we start with that? Can you tell us how your stories flow into art? It's a fascinating concept to me.
It is fascinating process for me too. I never really thought about this type of connection. I always saw myself as a scientist, biochemist by education, a teacher. And I think that the two profound shifts in my life just opened different channels. And maybe I looked through the window and saw different tree. And so it helped me to probably bring out emotions that it was hard to process, to recognize with transition and new culture. And how it started? Well, I listened to person and I found that I have some connection to this story. I recognize something in my own life experience, my own emotions. I recognize myself in a person and the story. And I think that shows that art is connecting, has a common connection in human beings. And then it just come to a vision. And I think, well, what is it? How does it feel? Do you feel that person his emotion is pain or happiness or both? And so I would say that there is two pieces. One, to connect and to bring this emotional connection to vision of the art. And then is really have conversation with clay. And while I work with clay, and clay start with the simple colors, one color, and then it comes to a cane. So I call this cane an ocean. To me, ocean is huge and magic and strange and warm, and there is a little bit of fear of humongous, universe, and that's how it goes. And then it's interesting that I have a drawing thoughts, but while I am working at the end, it could come to something that has essence of drawings, but totally different. So for me, it is two things. I feel of connection. I recognize my feelings, and maybe your story Diane, will help me to recognize some my unanswered questions. But I also hope that you, after seeing this, after seeing the art, the clay art, maybe you start to see some nuances of your stories that you never saw. And it helps us maybe to find new chapter in our story. So for me, that is the fascinating part of clay.
You know, when you say clay, I usually think of brown, right? The mud, the dirt that is clay and made, but you're holding up colorful pieces. We can't see them as well because there's a shadow on them, but I can see from your pictures of them that they're multicolors. So what is the difference between clay and the polymer clay that you're using? What is this substance?
Well, polymer clay is like what we used to have, we call it ceramic, right? And
Yes.
polymer clay, it is more chemistry is involved. It's chemicals that it's like plastilin. So what I do, I have my pasta machine, right? I don't
Pasta
cook
machine.
pasta, but yeah, this is Italian pasta machine, and I process pieces of solid clay, of solid green clay. I process to different thickness, and then I put together and I scroll and I think how colors will come together, and then I put it in a vase.
Oh, wow.
So this is, some clay is translucent, you can see through. So I just saw a little bit of earth, and then a little greens coming in the spring, and then there is summer, yellow, bright sun, and then there is harvest, and then there is blue of reflection. How was our year? So
Wow.
that's how that is the process, I would say.
That's pretty neat. That's
Yeah.
very neat. So
Yeah.
you make all your polymers yourself? That's where your chemistry comes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So
I know a lot of
I can.
potters make their own glazes. I didn't realize that they made their own
Yes.
glaze as well.
Yeah. So this is stacks and stacks and stacks of different clay.
Wow.
But what I found that after I talk to you, an image come. No, I want to create new clay. So my library. This is my library of on the wall. So this is library of the clay patterns that
Wow.
I make, because it's so many. And then I see, oh, I have this, and that. Maybe I will use, or I maybe will develop new one.
So can you hold that up again? So the clay patterns are different.
Yes.
They're different groupings of colors and different shapes molded together. Like I see one is blue.
Well, yes. Yes, you can see here is actually 4 colors involved. So through pasta machine, I made different like little pasta strings of red and yellow and blue and red and translucent, not translucent. And then I stack them as a pancakes, and then I play with that. I play.
Wow.
And sometimes it's good pancakes and sometimes it's not. But
Wow.
the point is that this is conversation. And you never know what you learn from conversation. And that's what it is. I never consider any small ways or anything, I never consider as wasted time. I always consider, so this is klimt, I call it klimt.
Yeah.
And different colors, they all went through the special, very narrow like barrel
Uh-huh.
with a square at the end. And so, and I like Klimt. And I thought, well, something like that. But what I want to say is that from each piece, I learned something. So this conversation never stops, I tell you. So, for example, these 3 vases, right?
Yes.
I read a book about Japanese art, kintsugi, where they put together broken pieces of art
Yes.
with the gold inside, and they consider that a healed piece is more precious than absolutely pure piece. And so it gave me some vision, and I created, this is, you see, it's broken by silver, it's glued together. So this is red Klimt with translucent, I don't know if you see it.
Yeah, red, translucent.
And this is a blue one with gold.
Wow.
It's base. And this is green one. And after that, I decided that I have a ball, and it's also, I decided that it's broken.
Yeah.
And I put it together.
Very cool.
So that's how it goes when I walk in the nature and I see trees together. Sometimes I see dark green, and next branch is bright yellow, and another, and they different species and different shape and color. And I think sometimes it comes to me and I think, well, how do we people live together? We are so different.
Yeah.
And that gives me thoughts. It gives me compare feelings. Like I saw a big leaf with the brown spots, beautiful. And I thought, wow, don't we all have blind spots in us that we don't know who we are? So that is example how art, nature, or people's stories just I actually see my art as a juncture, of originality. I don't like to copy, of imagination, and of relevance. Like if I hear a story and pain is relevant or happiness is relevant, I create this for person.
Well,
There was person who, yeah, sorry.
no,
Yeah,
that's all right.
I'm
It sounds to me like you're also very philosophical, yes? With when you
yes, they
about,
called me like that. How did you know?
you know,
I really like your idea, the image that you take something, I guess you break it on purpose, but you glue it back together with the precious metals, and then you make something that's whole in a different way and more precious than what you started with. It's like, I don't know, personal growth, and you know, people have pain and go through the pain. Somehow it's just a very wonderful image.
and
yes, that's what it is. It is, people think I made mistake, it was, but there is path it will be.
Yeah.
And it's not that the person or the piece is broken forever. They're healed.
Yes.
And then there's something else which is more precious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. And your viewing of the leaf too, with the brown spot, where that's a beauty. It just
yes.
That's wonderful. Because we all have brown spots. And you're talking.
Yes, and you know, in life they teach us, oh, you have a weakness, let's change it, and person feels that he is already a little bit diminished. When we can see that everything has a meaning and you can learn and be better.
Yeah. Yeah, I always think of weaknesses as something you need to strengthen, not something you need to change, just something you need to strengthen, which um it just seems more positive and actually actual to me, because you can't, if you break your leg, you don't say, oh, I've got to get rid of my leg. You use a crutch for a while and then, something to help you heal and go better. And your leg is never the same, but it's not as bad as when it broke. And that's your silver and gold are doing the same thing with these vases. That's lovely.
Yeah.
I wonder, do you have a piece that you've made from the leaf for the brown spot, or you just thought of it that way? That it was just, we
Give
all,
me a second.
okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Wasn't prepared for that.
well, I'm
But
sorry.
I just can give you, I can give you example of a leaf that I saw. That leaf could be actually, as I look and I thought, wow, I can imagine company of people that are very different, strange, but then they have kumbaya. They are together. They found that different brown spots actually is interesting in different people. So this is a vase where, do you see it?
Yeah, hold it back just a little so we can see the whole thing, because we see the leaves on top. Yeah, cool. That's wonderful. That is beautiful, Galina.
Yes.
Oh, your work is gorgeous.
Yes. It's so full of
Thank
light
you.
because
Thank
the
you.
polymer clay is translucent. Much of it, not all of it. Sometimes it's not translucent, but very full of light.
May I say thank you? I want to say that when you invited me, I looked at your mission on your website, and it's touched me that you want to bring art to everyone. And it's so important because I came from culture where art was only for few. Either you Van Gogh or you are not Beethoven. That's it. And if you are not, you cannot understand art. And I understood, with the time I understood that art is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is very important. And everyone can feel and find his own artist and its own language that help him to feel who he is.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I mean, you're talking to somebody who grew up just opening her mouth and singing every time she went out and walked down the street. And people did look at me like I was kind of weird, but I didn't care. And I still do that now at 68. I mean, there was a time when I was intimidated and I stopped, but I didn't feel good about it. So I think we all are called to a different expression. Some people see it in photography, some people see it in songs, some people see it in polymer clays. Some people see it in writing a book or a poem, and it's essential. I think it's an essential part of being a human being.
It's essential to express yourself for anyone, and art helps us to express ourselves.
So actually, can you talk about the journey you had from being a chemist to being an artist? Because you mentioned how you were really blessed by people who saw that in you.
Yes, I was well, I graduated biochemistry in Moscow, and then I returned to small town like Nashua in Moldova. It's next to Ukraine. And I taught biology and chemistry. And I never thought that I'm an artist. I never took pencil in but I loved nature. I loved to watch people and nature. And very often I see nature in people and people in nature. And at 35, I had to immigrate here. The Soviet Union was broke. and there was cultural independence war and civic there was challenge. So I came here as a refugee with my family, and it was very difficult. I mean, I was educated and I thought that I'm queen of the world at home. And I came here and I was nobody.
Oh.
And no language, no driving, did no microwave.
Oh.
And when you don't have language, it's hard to communicate. And then when I learned a little bit English, I understood that language is not everything. And everything was different. How people relate to each other, how people in family, at work, everything was different. Soviet Union was more collective culture versus America is more individualistic culture, and each culture has beauty in that. But to make a shift, and not luxury shift, is very difficult. I started to work in Cambridge in 3 months after I arrived here. So anyway, I didn't have a lot of friends. I was busy and I was tired and scared. I didn't know how people perceive me and I didn't understand them. And you don't want to upset people by doing something that is not in a culture. So I started at home when I had free time, to work with my hands. And I started to create jewelry from wire. It's just, and I think that also helped me. While you're doing something, you think about something, then you see, another thought comes. It's like intervention to your regular thoughts. And I think that's what helped me to move from a very scientific mind, very logical mind, to a little bit philosophical mind, like you said. So I don't know if it's answered your question.
No, it sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, so you came to a place because you needed to move, and yet
to survive.
Yeah. And yet in some ways when you were here, you were stuck. You weren't getting into a new place is very difficult. I've moved and I've visited places for long terms too, and it's hard because people are different. We're all the same, and yet we're also fundamentally different ways of communicating, different values, different thoughts. So I commend you for finding a way to bridge the difference and for being able to pull yourself into movement, because your pieces have incredible amounts of movement and beauty. There's nothing stagnant about them at all.
Thank you.
How did you initially choose wire jewelry, and then how did you, I guess, make the transition to polymer clay on glass? Was there a process there?
Well, I think that as any woman, assumption, I love jewelry.
Okay.
And it was easy.
Okay.
So I went to Michael's and I bought few beads and wire. Yeah. And I think I like to move with my hands. Yeah. Sometimes when I hear story, I come home and without any reason, I play with wire. And it comes to shape of the tree or something. And then I think, yes, that will be shape of the clay, because it's come through hands, not thinking too much. So wire, that's all. It was cheap, it was there, it was.
Oh, cool.
About clay, my daughter likes art, and she is pro in Etsy. So she found some polymer clay work, and I was fascinated, and I
Wow.
said, what is it? And then I said, I want to learn.
Huh.
And I bought just simple clay, a book, a pasta maker, and that was history.
Wow.
Wow. I laugh every time you say a pasta maker because it brings forward my grandmother who made pasta. But
That's what my mother said. I wish you could do something to cook with pasta maker. She loved, but she loved pieces too. So she said, okay.
that is so wonderful. What a gift you have, Galina.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing it. You're so vivacious. It's wonderful. And it's been so exciting to talk to you about your adventures and about your artwork. We look forward to seeing your works in our January Arts Saturday Art Gallery. For more information about this and other programs, please go to draketarts.com. And thank you to our current sponsors and donors, Helen Fremont, Marianne Dornice Goldman, Lois Welber, Blue Shutter Web Design, Diane's Song, the Massachusetts Cultural Councils, grants as administered by the Billerica and Dracut Cultural Councils. If you'd like to be a sponsor, please email us at draketarts@gmail.com or visit our website, draketarts.com.